We want to welcome our wonderful guest, Janet Doerr. Janet is a medical intuitive, an ascension guide, and a master energy healer. She uses her multidimensional gifts to uncover and then clear the root cause of her clients' issues. Janet works with people in an empowering way to identify the underlying energies, which can include suppressed emotion and limiting beliefs, ancestral energies, traumatic experiences, oaths and vows, attached entities. People who work with Janet report rapid shifts in health conditions, regaining a peaceful state, improvements in relationships, and feeling empowered. And Janet offers training to support people during their ascension. There's a URL for a free gift from Janet called 5 Steps to Transform Your Energy, Transform Your Health. And we're very happy to welcome Janet. So glad you're here again, my friend.
Thank you, Carolyn.
I know that you were speaking of something a month or more ago. And when I looked at that email that you sent about how you had fallen down the stairs and you were working on healing that, and you mentioned it, and then a ton of people started saying, oh my gosh, I've got all these feet and lower leg issues. And you had been noticing that, and then you had your own experience, and then it all kind of spiraled into a way to help people to help themselves. So you're seeing these trends in what's coming up for people and health issues. Is that one of the bigger ones?
Well, it certainly was up probably in the fourth quarter of 2023 and on into now still. Then I also, before I had my own experience, I had been noticing on Facebook, different friends, here's a picture of someone leg propped up, they broke their ankle, they're in a cast, this happened, that happened. And I'm going, wow, that's so fascinating. And then day after Thanksgiving, I tumbled down and badly sprained both my ankles. So then I was virtually immobile. I had to use a walker almost immediately. By the end of that day, they were so swollen that I really couldn't put any weight on them at all. So I had my own experience with healing that and going deep and what's this about and what do I need to clear? And then shortly thereafter, my husband fell twice in a spate of 2 weeks, and it just seemed to go on and on. So I was guided to put a program together, which I offered through one of the summits, and had a big group come together to receive that. And Spirit guided me, well, this would be a good time to clear implants and seals and all these past life, wartime memories of sludging through trenches and being in the cold and frozen feet and frostbite and all kinds of things. So we had quite the clearing party for a 4-week program. Really went deep.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It interests me because I've noticed that sometimes my heels and my Achilles tendon will be on both legs, they will be sore. I'll get up and I'll really feel them, and I don't generally. And I'm thinking, when you mentioned this in your email going back a few months, I thought, oh my gosh, are other people experiencing this also? It's so strange. Do you feel that it symbolizes something?
Well, yes, I did my interview on the summit, and there were so many people that called in and so many people that wrote in, well, I've got this and plantar fasciitis and on it went, basically knees down. And so the next morning after this cavalcade of people with lower leg issues, I said to Spirit, well, what is going on? And I got this amazing download. So in the astrological system, different parts of the body are associated with different astrological signs. So you're going to love this. So Aquarius is associated with ankle, shin, Achilles, and calf. And Pisces is associated with feet, toes, and the pineal gland. So basically those two signs cover the lower body, not the knees, but from right below them. So then I got this big download that what we were doing in so many people having health experiences in these parts of the body is that as we're moving out of the Piscean age and into the age of Aquarius, and of course, we've made the transition into the initial impulses of the age of Aquarius, but we have not yet quite manifested what's possible to experience in reality in the age of Aquarius, that we were clearing. So we were clearing Pisces, and we were clearing also what we could not take with us in the age of Aquarius forward in order to manifest heaven on earth in the fifth dimension. So here we are, clearing calves, shins, ankles, Achilles, feet, and toes. And so I was right in on that with my two double, very serious sprains, my husband and his fall down. And it sounds like for yourself, your own experiences. And people would say, I don't get it. Why is this coming up now? And of course, the answer was it was the perfect divine time for everyone who was intended to participate in this clearing in this way to have these experiences and clear those body parts.
How amazing. And so it's related to grounding, do you think, into the earth as well? Since we walk upon the earth, do you think it's related to us getting used to her new higher vibrations?
Well, I think you just spoke wisdom, in what just came to you to speak out. So I believe you were just channeling some information. Clearly, one of the things about our lower legs is the requirement to ground. And I'm quite grounded, and in the moment that, and I saw my injury a few hours later in slow motion, frame by frame. And I saw that what had occurred was my grounding cord was severed. So I did have some interesting other dimensional interference, which was a contribution to my tumbling down the stairs, and something that I had to address and take care of, where that I had to track that interference and see where it was. And I also had some karma involved that needed to be cleared. But yes, many people with the frequencies being as high as they are, if they are not completely in their body and grounded to the earth, then they're at risk for all of a sudden kind of lifting off in the body and whoopee, here we go, down, down for a fall or off the curb or some experience. But it wasn't just injuries. The people that came forward, they had pains, deep pains, plantar fasciitis, and so forth. So we worked as a group in the individual sessions that I did, which were part of the program. And I will say the program's still available. So if anybody has an interest in this, on my Facebook page, Janet Doerr, Medical Intuitive, you can find the link. Now the program's no longer live. It's in recorded form, but it is still available. And we were doing a lot of clearing of, for example, those phrases, digging in one's heels. So clearing stubbornness, not feeling allowed or embraced in following one's soul path. We walk forward on our feet. So people to feel free in order to move forward, and uncovered a whole lot of past lives where people were restrained or not allowed to move forward. Enslavement. A lot of people have worn physical shackles on their ankles. So we were clearing that. And then there's etheric implants that mirror that physical experience that people have had. So it was just quite the interesting number of different related issues.
That is so fascinating, Janet. Now, you dealt with this, and it's in the recordings, is that right?
Right. It was 4 sessions, and each one had a series of things, what we were going to look at. And so people were invited to explore, connect with the energy through the discussion, through the pictures I was showing. And then I would invite them, what energy is this bringing up for you? And we'd go back and look at, well, if anyone had past lives related to a given theme. We had people look at their etheric bodies and see, feel, or sense. Did they also have these shackles on their ankles? And most of the people said, oh, yeah, I see them, or I can feel them, or I just know they're there. And so we did clearing after clearing. It really, really went deep energetically. And a lot of also pulling our feet up and out of the muck. We're in the process of ascension, as we all know. We are stepping up out of what we currently are experiencing, which may be some repetitive issues, whether they be with health or life. And people say, I feel stuck. Well, process of stepping up, literally stepping up onto a higher timeline, literally means taking our feet out of that kind of swamp of energy and stepping up. So guiding people on to a process of stepping up on a crystalline staircase and to keep moving up and away from whatever was the energetic experience they were having, which of course we all understand it's something we've created for ourselves. And when we're ready to go, okay, I've had enough of that, I'm ready to move up and on, then we can do that. We set ourselves free, step up, and all of a sudden we find things in our life falling away, whether they be relationships that don't serve us anymore, or we're tired of that job, got to have a new job, and whatever it may be, a new living location. It's us that creates the moment where we go, I'm complete with that. Some people will say, I'm so done with that. and they've still got charge, right? They've still got some energetic attachment, some lack of acceptance or some discord. And I invite people to just say, okay, it was an experience, but I am now complete. And I'm ready to choose a new experience, move forward.
Absolutely wonderful. I love how you're understanding the symbolic importance of these issues, and that you also figured it out about the Aquarius and the Pisces energies influences. Everything you're mentioning is fascinating. And it is true that we carry the imprint of any trauma we suffer, including physical trauma. We carry that in our etheric body. We come back into another earth life. It's still there.
Right.
That still has to be cleared. And this is the era in which we're doing it.
Right. Yeah, the etheric body is the body double, and it stores a record of absolutely everything we've ever experienced. So I was helping people acknowledge that if they had an injury in this life, let's go look at where that imperfection and a previous injury to that body part occurred in another timeline, and go be complete with that. Forgive if it was a harm that created the injury, then forgive anybody involved in it and ourselves for participating in that. Release the associated emotional energy and any judgment or beliefs that we've got that's holding that all in place, so that it can be basically all dissolved back into love. And then we do call in. So with the client work I do, once we've cleared, then we need to call back in our divine blueprints, which are without, they are perfect. They're without error and without injury. And so then we get new blueprints back in. So now our body elemental can build to a new set of architectural plans. Let's go back to perfection.
Wonderful. Absolutely fascinating. I'm so glad, I feel that strongly you're in the right business, and I'm glad you left the corporate life to do what you're doing. Absolutely.
It was a bit of a change, but
just slightly. Janet, you've talked about the idea that we can heal ourselves. So how do we do that? Are there steps to take? Because we need to see the root causes, don't we?
Right. Well, the first thing is to remember and understand, and it gets challenging when our body is hurting or we're not sleeping or whatever it is experience we're having, that our bodies are always lovingly trying to get our attention. And so if anything less than perfection is happening in the body, it's an indication that we need to look elsewhere in our energy field. So in our etheric body, do we have issues from other timelines that need to be addressed? Are there implants? Because there are such things, etheric implants. In our emotional body, is there a body of emotion that we just either haven't noticed, or we notice it, but we say, I don't know where that comes from, and I don't want to feel it. So I'm not going to feel it. And all that does is just push it aside, push it down, and then it'll be there for another day when it will lovingly once again come back to our attention. And then we have thoughts, beliefs, oaths, vows, agreements we've taken, which can be altered. We are powerful and sovereign beings. And so if we agreed or we brought in a belief structure and it's no longer serving us, and typically belief structures will trap emotional energy associated with them. And when we realize, oh, this body of emotion is because I have one of these three beliefs running, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, just for starters, or took an oath of poverty, or something in a life of service in the Catholic Church, for example, or as a monk. These things will sit there until we can bring them into the light, and therefore they become transparent, illuminated, because now we can see them, and then we can address them and say, oh, well, if I took an oath of poverty, obedience, and chastity were the three big ones for people in service in churches, well, then you can say, okay, well, I no longer agree to those things. That oath will be in place for forever until you choose to make a different decision and revoke it and declare it null and void.
Absolutely right. And so you're able to lead people into the process where they look at the root causes, where they can encounter them, because it is our natural tendency to not want to look at what we've suffered in other lives, which is understandable.
Yeah. And when we become aware that there's something in our own journey in another timeline, sometimes we become aware of that because we start thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe, this situation, my grandmother experienced it, or I heard my lineage up here experienced it. And we will often choose the perfect family line to incarnate in that has some of the very same things that we experienced in other timelines. So we can start by becoming aware of what the ancestors have experienced and holding them in loving compassion, which is in oneness and unity. Therefore, we're holding ourselves in loving compassion. And as we're able to start dissipating the energy and dissolving them back into love, while we work with the ancestral energies, then we're better able to go, oh, wait a minute. It feels like I had that experience also. And then it's a bit easier to make the leap and say, oh, well, if that happened, then I'll hold myself in compassion. And I'll forgive also other players that might have been involved in it. Like, it's water under the bridge at this point. So we might as well just bring ourselves back to a state of peace with what occurred, allow the energy, well, how am I feeling about that? I'm saddened, or I've got fear trapped in my body. And there is right now a lot of fear energy coming up and through people's bodies. And they'll say they are feeling anxious, or they've noticed that they're shaking or with tremors. And that is just old fear energy from the many things that we've experienced here on the earth plane and elsewhere. And that becomes cellular memory, and it's just shaking up and out. So this too will pass.
That is brilliant. I hadn't thought of it that way. And I agree. We do tend to choose the perfect earth family for what we want to finally heal and or get rid of, just dissolve.
Yeah.
There's no accidents there. Can you tell us any other stories of self-healing or?
Yeah, you bet. So one way of healing is that we have something occur, a health issue or an injury, and we go look within and start noticing, well, how am I feeling about that? Oh, what beliefs do I hold? Gee, this looks like an ancestral pattern, etc. And we go in that way. But it's also possible to experience rather remarkable, miraculous healing. So when I was about 21, I was living in the Seas, British Columbia, and married a Canadian and moved up there. And now I'm living in this little tiny town, having grown up in Oakland, California, so culture shock. And because of the stress I was feeling, I go, okay, good, I'm going to go running every morning. So I started on a routine of going out running, which is not something that I'd done before. And in short order, I had an Achilles issue. And I'm also a Pisces. I didn't put two and two together there. But my Achilles tendon became very inflamed. My foot swelled up, tremendous amount of pain, left Achilles tendon. So after doing the various things, putting it in a cast, doing this, doing that, I was referred to a specialist, an orthopedic specialist. And when he examined me, he said, "Oh, well, your left tendon is the size of a pencil. That's very, very thin. Your right tendon, feel it." And he showed me, and I got down there and palpated my ankles. He said a normal size tendon is more like the size of your forefinger. And he said, "See how your right one is, way bigger." And he said, "So what'll happen, you've injured it because you were doing that running, pounding business on asphalt. And what will happen, because it's thin and now weakened further, is one day you'll just step off of a curb and it'll break, and your calf muscle will end up, below your knee, and you'll come to me and I'll stitch you up, but you'll never be the same again." And I thought, gosh, that just doesn't sound like a great outcome and doesn't sound like any fun. So I'm driving home thinking, no, this will not do. I'm not choosing this. And I had recently been to a conference where a fellow who was a psychologist, and he had been working with Canadian Olympic team and doing hypnosis and so forth and helping them with improving their performance. And he had studied what he considered the ultimate high performance was people healing themselves. So he trekked the world and found stories of people who'd dissolved a tumor or grown back a body part or whatever they had done. And he asked them what process they were using. So then he taught us that process, which was basically get relaxed, breathe in white light, breathe out gray smoke, progressively relax the muscle groups in the body so that we were then calm without tension. And then imagine that whatever the body is doing that needs to be corrected, that you send a little helper in there to correct it. And so he described that people were sending little helpers in to take a tumor and break it apart and haul it off. So I thought, okay, great. Well, I'll use that technique. And so I imagined my Achilles tendon, left Achilles tendon, to be a little column of bricks, and it was too small. So I sent a little bricklayer, breathe them in and send them down my leg and down to my Achilles tendon. And I'd have this little bricklayer take a brick and slather on mortar and apply it to my column of bricks. And I was doing this 10 or 15 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a day, because I needed to elevate and rest and ice and so forth. So with that repetition, I just sent the little guy down there and I built a column. And I never thought about it. As soon as I'd be done with my meditation, I would carry on with life. About 5 weeks later, I just stopped doing the meditation and there was no pain anymore. I went back to see the surgeon, and he walks in the room and he comes straight to my left Achilles tendon, and he asked me as he's coming in, beaming with a big smile, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm great." And he comes and he starts examining my left Achilles tendon, and he got looking really confused. His jaw kind of fell slack and open, and he went to the right Achilles tendon, and he went back to the left, and he was clearly very confused. And so I said, "Well, maybe I should tell you what I've been up to." And so I told him, and he was dumbfounded, and he said, "Well, you don't need me anymore." And I had built an Achilles tendon in 5 weeks with just meditation and my understanding that people were doing this around the world, so I would just do it too. It was very simple. I was 21 years of age. People perhaps remember what you feel like at that age. You've sown a few oats and you just feel powerful and you just go do it, make it happen. So that's what I did. I grew an Achilles tendon.
I just love that story. And it's so inspiring for the rest of us because we could do that as well. I imagine little angels going into every cell. Sometimes I'll do something like that, but I just love that. So I'm just wondering if you've got any new insights about what our bodies require right now that'll help us to navigate these powerful energies that are really drawing so much of our life force and taking so much, just the integration, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are, as many people are aware, we're shifting from carbon-based to silica light-bearing light beings. Yes. So that is an alchemical change, but it's also a shift so that we become much more mineral dense. So many years ago, 10, 12 years ago, I started hearing minerals, 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 minerals. And I would get information about what my own body required, more minerals, and what foods they were in. And so I made a tremendous number of shifts. So I have recently, like in the last 3 days, Spirit gave me a download, both for me, but much to share for this group. For starseeds who are aware that your body, all of our bodies, and I'll clarify, some people might not call themselves a starseed. Some people really identify with that title. But if you're on this show, this news is for you. This is what you need. So what I heard was we need to all be working with and receiving gold light. So you were leading a meditation, Caroline, with golden white light. Yes. And they're inviting us to do that for sure, but also drench ourselves in gold light, stand under a waterfall of gold light. And that's Buddha consciousness. The Buddha works with gold light. The benefits of really receiving and soaking in this gold light, I was given about 4 things that it does. 1, it lubricates our joints. So on a metaphysical level, it's lubricating our joints. It's lubricating our skin. It's helping us to hold, many people are finding skin drying out. Body parts feel dry despite downing tremendous amounts of water. And in addition to the tremendous amount of water, we need potassium and a lot of it. But that this gold light would help us with our joints. It would help us with our endocrine system. And our endocrine system has all these glands, and there is a gland that correlates to each chakra. Go figure. And the endocrine system produces substances which help regulate the body into better health. So more gold light will help the endocrine system function better, both on the etheric and also on the physical. And I also heard that this gold light would assist our central nervous systems so that the shaking, tremors, anxiety, unexplained, why is my body in this state of agitation, the gold light, breathing in and meditating with more gold light would help that. And then there were some specific things. Vitamin B6, B as in boy, 6. And so I asked about that, and they said that actually I was told that I was deficient, and I had started taking a B complex vitamin every day, but I was still told and more and more and more. Some of the foods for people who are plant-based eaters are chickpeas, nuts, squash, banana, tofu. If you eat soy, of course, I'd recommend eating organic. And for those that do ingest animal products, it's in salmon, chicken, and yellowfish tuna. So that's some of the sources to get it. What is it doing for us? It's one of those central nervous system aids for calming. So people were talking about not sleeping well. You may want to consider whether upping your B6 may calm your central nervous system so that you're not as wired at night. I invite you to explore that. One of its other properties is it protects from air pollution. So, what is going on with air pollution in our reality at this point? So if you'd like to protect yourself from some of that nonsense that may be raining down in your community, more B6. And then a couple of other minerals, more boron, trace minerals, really good for arthritic kind of joint, concerns. But boron is most imperative to those of us who work with the light, who wish to have our intuitive and perceptive abilities on high for pulling all the fluoride out of your body, and in particular, getting it off the pineal gland. Silica, more silica, which is necessary for building a silicon light body. And so you can take silica in supplement form, but it's in those vegetables that stand up straight. So celery stands up straight, it shows you it's got a lot of silica. Broccoli stands up straight, it's got a lot of silica. Think of a spinach leaf that goes and flops over, not as much silica. So silica in supplement form, celery, raw or cooked, any of those vegetables that seem to have a strong stature to them, they're bearing silica. So that was pretty much what Spirit wanted me to kind of guide people. Oh, and also with the gold energy, you can receive it also by wearing it. You can receive it by wearing the color, a very beautiful golden color. You can receive it by, putting on jewelry like my wedding ring here and my father's wedding ring. These are all ways to bring more of that gold. And I want to tag on, Rama's spoken many times about the monoatomic gold dust that he's been perceiving enter our atmosphere. And that's related to what Spirit gave me. We will need more gold. And it's part of the reason why it was mined on this planet and removed from the planet by unfriendlies, because they needed it on their star system or wherever they were. And we need it also. So it's coming to us. That phrase that Creator does not take away what it is given, and anything that was taken away from us will be returned. And so this monoatomic gold dust coming into the planet is in part making up for the gold that was taken off the earth.
Hi, everyone. It's Caroline. Thank you for listening, and please tune in to part 2 of this amazing interview with energy healer Janet Doerr. Please remember to like and subscribe. Namaste.